The management of this theater thanks you for your patronage.
The moment our fellow geeks, dweebs, nerds, and other unfortunates have been fervently waiting for has finally arrived. It's time for TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Jeff Nerfherder Chandler, Jim Kaiju Baker, and Christina Yojimbo Henry. You can continue. And now, let's get on with the show. Here is TMI.
What infuriates me about AI is like it's not intelligent. Okay, people need to understand this. All it does is scrape and collate. Okay,
isn't that how intelligence starts, though?
If it can create something from scratch, that's artificial intelligence. By which point we have achieved the singularity and we're all screwed. Okay,
I think it's already happened.
But it can't do that. All it can do is scrape and collate information that it's fed. But it doesn't make a quality product. It just makes a passable product. But
because it's still learning. That's still learning. It's still scraping.
Executives love the idea of, increasing their stock options and not having to pay labor. That's all it is.
Right. It's a buzzword right now. It's just you throw it out there and people get excited. Unfortunately, this chat GPT and all this other crap that's now being thrown to the wolves and people are playing with it, that it's learning. It's
scraping information, right? Yeah. Stop feeding the machine. Okay.
It's too late.
Don't
Genie's
feed
out of the bottle.
Die.
It's we're all dying. We're all going to die by Terminator. It is going to happen. It's only a matter of time. All right. Welcome to the end of the world, everybody.
Yeah.
What will the Terminator look like, though?
Oh, he's going to look like us.
Like Invasion of the Body Snatchers? He'll just take over us one at a time?
He'll be taking over like human skin. He'll be putting it on, and he'll come on this podcast, and he'll watch a movie and then spout out information about it.
But will other AIs even need to listen to it? Because it's all just a collective, right?
Are we talking Borg now?
What a boring world, yeah.
I think we're already there, whether we're artificial intelligence or not. I am a robot. Does not compute. That's not what we're here for. We're not here to talk AI.
No, we're here to talk Nazis specifically, the way things turned out.
Wait, so people following orders. So maybe we are talking AI.
In no way do we condone any of the characters in these movies. Please don't take it the wrong way.
No, it was a very interesting.
Except for the ones that are actually killing the Nazis, we can get behind now. I've already said too much.
Well,
Yay, everybody.
I was going to say, you can't talk about the first movie without the fact that you just revel in the fact that he's blowing up Nazis.
Yeah, that's what you get from the trailer. And you're very hopeful going into this movie that they can maintain the insanity that you've seen in the trailer. I think we all saw it before John Wick 4.
Yeah.
So it kind of primed you for the violence and mayhem that happened in that movie. And we'll see if Sisu disappoints or not.
Yes. Yeah. Anybody who I mentioned this to did not recognize the name of the movie, but if I said it's basically John Wick blowing up Nazis. Oh, I saw that trailer. That looked good. How was it? Why don't you listen to a podcast? I'm giving my opinion out for free.
Not like we get paid for this.
No, we get paid for this at all. No. If anything, we just keep paying into it. It's a labor of love.
Yes, it is.
Okay, I was waiting for. Am I the only one?
There's crickets. Yeah,
there were crickets. Speaking of crickets, can I just say that my family has picked up on the idea of whenever Jeff tells a joke and it falls flat, I get crickets.
I didn't think your family listened to this podcast.
No, I made the mistake of telling them the story that I got. I think the last time I was on, you gave me not one, but 2 rounds of crickets. And so, yeah, my wife will either go cricket, or my children have both downloaded the cricket sound on their phones.
Well, you got to think of
Well,
it this
thank
way.
you.
It's either crickets or dead silence. So
No, actually, sometimes I revel into silence. They're like little grenades. Sometimes you throw them out there and they hit, or sometimes they don't. And I'm proud one way or the other.
But I think crickets accentuates the fact that perhaps there was a joke there that was missed by us.
I like it.
You could be the beneficiary of the crickets. Just think of it that way.
I am embracing the crickets.
Yeah.
So not that I'll go out of my way on this show to continually get crickets, but my family think it's pretty funny. So thank you. And you're right. They don't listen. I did have a family member yesterday tell me that he did listen to an episode. And even though he didn't understand a single word we were talking about, he recognized my voice. And I'm like, I guess that's
okay.
faint praise. I don't know. So,
all right. Do we have any
Sisu?
news?
Wait, what are we watching with Sisu?
Sisu, Iron Sky.
Iron Sky. This was some counter programming that may not have worked.
Talk about AI. Thanks to our Wheel of Chance, we were given this, just like the Loom of Fate in Wanted. We were given this to cover. Although Jeff did feed this into the computer, so we have Jeff to.
Yes, of course. Blame Jeff. Let's blame Jeff.
Well, we haven't even gotten there yet, so maybe we could be pleasantly surprised. Maybe not.
Maybe not. Maybe even Jeff's regretting it. All right, so let's do a little bit of news. It's been a couple of weeks. Let's see. Let's start in Disneyland. Disney's Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel that just opened last year. Already closing.
At Disney World.
Oh, I'm sorry. Disney World, Disneyland.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Good thing they didn't double down and go Death Star and build two of them. This thing is like a $2 billion build, and now they're just abandoning it a year later. I just lower your prices.
I'm taking the cynical route here. That once they announced this, I think they get. I don't remember what the end date is. It's
September 30th, 2023.
But like the day that they announced this, it sold out from the day of the announcement to September.
Oh, you think this is like a genius move?
So now they're going to say, "Oh, maybe we shouldn't close it." You know, it's like Frank Sinatra's retirement, which lasted a year. Now he's coming back.
Rolling Stones as well.
Old Blue Eyes is back.
Well, if anybody is not familiar with this is a spaceship. It's a hotel that's designed to look like a spaceship. It is a Star Wars themed 2-night live action role playing choose your own adventure experience at $5,000 for a 2-night stay, a family of 4. So the price point is off the charts to begin with.
Part of the price point was because you have all these actors who are engaging with you directly.
I think it's in concept, it's brilliant because you have these kids who want to go to Star Wars and carry their lightsabers around and interact with these characters. It's genius, but you choose to create a whole new world. You're not picking up in any of existing Star Wars universe. Maybe you'll see a Rey or a Kylo Ren or a Chewbacca. I
have a theory about why it didn't work, and I don't think it has anything to do with like the particular theming of the hotel or even the price.
Okay.
I think it has to do with the fact that like there's a limited number of people who want to engage this way on their vacation. You know, like
it is immersive. It sounds like there are times
I don't want to talk to people. I stay far away from. There's this one place in Hollywood Studios where the wait staff interacts with you because they're all in character. I forget the 50s cafe or whatever.
Is that the drive-in?
No, it's not the drive-in.
Okay.
But I'm like, that seems like my worst nightmare. Where,
Jim's like, stop talking to me. I don't want to join your rebellion. Stop, leave me alone.
Right. So the whole thing is like, I think that Disney really overestimated the number of people that want like this degree of engagement. Like, yes, there's going to be like a hardcore of fans who basically want to role play for 2 days and who want this kind of thing. But what you're probably getting more often are like maybe like enthusiastic kids and unenthusiastic parents or one partner is really into it, but their
come on, honey, it's going to be fun. I'm going to be sitting over here with Jim. No, I'm not going. I'm not doing it.
And I just think, to me, this is also the reason why nobody wants to ride the Mars ride in Epcot. At first it was like, oh, well, people don't want to ride it because you have to, like, it pulls G's, like they get sick from the gravity. But actually they have a version that doesn't pull the G's and you don't, so you don't get sick. But people still don't want to go on it. And I think it's because you have to work on the ride. You're supposed to fly the ship and do all this other stuff.
Press the button. Yeah.
And it's like, that's not what people go on vacation for. They don't go on vacation so that they can work. If they go to a theme park, they want to get on a ride around, take a picture with a character, eat some ice cream. They don't want to do work. And I think that Disney just, as a company that has built its brand around theme parks, it shocks me that they don't understand this.
Well, I think they see the level of LARPing that goes on, and they just, maybe they overestimated the interest. But isn't that the whole drive and interest in people going on the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run? Is that fly the Falcon?
But that's not as popular as the other Star Wars rides. And I think for the same reason, I don't want to fly the Millennium Falcon. I want to ride on the Millennium Falcon.
It's actually a kind of stressful situation because I don't know how much of it is true. Like, if you just put your hands up in the air and rode the ride, if you'd get the same result. But it feels like if you crash into something and you're the navigator, you've let down the other 4 people.
Yeah.
Because you suck. So it's a very
a lot of pressure
situation. Yeah.
And you're not riding necessarily just with your own family group. Like you're riding with other people.
There's other
that
people
are mad that you got that
you destroyed their experience. Yeah.
Right. So I don't know why Disney keeps doing this. And Smuggler's Run is the rides in Galaxy's Edge or any Star Wars related ride. It's one of the lowest ranked rides. And I think it's because people don't want to do work at a theme park. There's a line, I think, between immersiveness and participation. And I think, as an example, the Harry Potter land in Universal does this sort of participation thing really well. You can sort of immerse yourself as much as you want, right? If you want to dress up, if you want to get a wand, you want to do things that interact with your wand, you can do that. If you don't want to, you can still walk through Hogwarts and enjoy yourself.
The key with the Harry Potter thing is that you can leave whenever you want. Right. This thing is like a prison for 2 to 3 days.
2 days.
It's you can't leave. We're in outer space.
I'm in Disney World and I can't leave this damn building.
Actually, I think on the second day they release you into Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
But Galaxy's Edge is the same way it's set up. If you want to interact with characters and go on side missions, you can. But the hotel sounds like it's designed that you need to be a part of something. You can't just you don't have windows. They look out into outer space. I'm assuming there's a pool, but really you're paying. There's no pool.
There's no pool.
In space, nobody sees you swim.
Oh no. Well, I can't imagine. They're not just going to shutter this thing. They're gonna have to go back. They're gonna have to step back. They're gonna look at it. There's too much money invested in this thing. It's a beautiful facility. It's gorgeous to look at, and they have to just decide that, you know what, we're gonna have to lower our price point and make it a little more family friendly.
I don't think they're going to get rid of it. I just think they're maybe
it's not even a year old. There's no way they made it.
They'll refocus. They'll refocus on maybe just make it a regular hotel. You know, a Star Wars themed hotel. They would have had millions of people just at that alone.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, and especially if it was adjacent to Hollywood studios like that, because there really isn't a hotel that's that close to Hollywood studios as this one is. So,
this one's pretty close. This one's right on Galaxy's Edge, right? Because I think part of your price is when you leave after the second day, you go right into Galaxy's Edge Park.
I don't know. The thing is that the one thing a lot of people complained about is the rooms are very, very small.
Yeah. Well, you're in a spaceship. There's only 100 rooms. There's only 100 rooms, and they cannot until, like Jim just mentioned, until they actually announced that, we're officially shuttering this, did they reach capacity. So even when it first opened up, there wasn't a huge demand for it.
The other thing is too, so last year, husband and son had wanted to go, and we were going to send them for my son's 16th birthday. The only way you could book this vacation is if you call. You can't book online like any other Disney saying you can't book through a travel agent. You have to call Disney directly. I waited on hold for 4.5 hours and I never talked to anybody. So I never booked a vacation.
They were all, the unlimited blue milk got them. They were all like lined up.
4.5 hours. I was
Wow.
I was like working and doing other things while I was doing it. And I was texting my husband the whole time. I'm like, still on hold. Still listening to the music, the same theme music over and over again.
Yeah, still shorter than the queue line for Toy Story Arcade.
Like I said, I think it's just that they really overestimated how much work people want to do on a theme park vacation.
Yeah.
But
I also don't think that you get much for that money. So, oh well, I don't know anybody who's gone, had the experience.
If you listen, do you ever listen to the Disney Dish podcast? You probably don't, Jeff. Jim, you might. You probably should because you're into theme park things.
Mm-hmm.
But Jim Hill, who's like a Disney insider who's reported on Disney for years and years, and Len Testa, who is the statistics guy behind the unofficial guide to Disney, they kind of talk all Disney news. And Len went on the Galactic Star Cruiser experience last year, and he was really enthusiastic about it. But he was really into the LARPing.
Yeah.
And it was actually because of his review that I tried to book the thing for my husband and son. I was like, I'm not going. I don't want to talk to people for 2 days.
No,
you guys can go. But actually, if you want to keep up on like Disney news, also Universal news, theme park news, that's a good podcast to listen to.
All right. So I guess we're going to leave Disney. We'll leave Disney.
Yeah.
All right. We do have to just mention Tina Turner. It happened. She passed 2 weeks ago now.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. It's insane. Sucks getting old, man. All these people we grew up with.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling. If anybody has anything else to bring to the table.
We are getting a Jaws Lego set.
Yeah.
That's newsworthy.
That is very newsworthy. I love Lego
sets. Sets are like $800. They're insane.
I'll pay for it. I have
friends who actually they're in Legoland right now doing a 5K, and I'm like, that's got to hurt your feet.
I can have Jaws attack my Yellow Submarine Lego set.
Oh, now you're talking, though.
Yeah, and I can have Quint sail the yellow. The possibilities are endless here.
I think if you
could have Quint
GPT to write that
on, I can have Quint on the deck with Mickey Mouse on the Steamboat Willie set. This means, and they could get attacked by Jaws.
So your Lego sets are actually built and they're out on a shelf somewhere.
Yes, they are. Of course,
they're not sitting in a box.
They are not sitting in a box.
Yours aren't built.
Fair enough.
I mean, as soon as the Lego set comes in my house, my son takes it away, and
it's like a stock. Yeah.
I think that's understood though with Lego collectors, because when you go to a flea market and you see somebody selling Legos, they're always like in a big Ziploc bag with the instructions loose. Like you very rarely see like secondhand in box Legos. I think it's accepted that you're supposed to open these things up.
I don't know. I know people who buy one to keep in a box and the other one to build. I'm like, that Death Star is a couple $100. I'm like, how are you buying two of those?
The Death Star is like $500-$600 actually.
Yeah, I would say that's close to a G.
Oh, the Death Star is really expensive. We just go to the Lego store and look at that one. You
can go look at it, honey. You can take pictures.
Yeah.
A lot of the Lego sets now just seem like they're not geared for kids anymore.
No, well, that's anything. That's any high-end collectible. Comic books. The cover price of a comic book is $5.
Yeah.
You're not telling me a kid is coming off the street after watching Across the Spider-Verse and going, Mom, I want you to buy me a Miles Morales comic book.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to continue reading that once a month at $5.
It stops people from getting into things like the cost of comics, like the cost of toys, like the cost of baseball tickets, like the cost of whatever. I mean, even the cost of going to a movie. I mean, Jeff, you usually go by yourself, but Jim, like you go with your whole family a lot. It's expensive to go to the movies with a whole family.
It cost me $19.99 to watch Sisu at home.
And that's still, I think, cheaper than if you were to buy yourself a ticket. The Regal app not included in the statement, but to buy yourself a ticket, popcorn, soda, it's probably comparable. $19.99.
Oh, I agree. I agree with it. It does sound a little much, but yeah, when you put it in context that you're going to sit down and even if 2 other people are watching it with you. For an extra $5, I could have just bought it outright. I think it was $24.99 to own it, which I didn't opt for, but I wish I did.
And Murphy's Law, whenever I rent one of these things at full price, the next day it goes down to $5.99. So I waited until the last minute last night to rent this thing to see if it went down in price, and it didn't.
Oh, I was gonna say, damn you! If you're paid enough $5.99.
No, I didn't. It was 19.
I will. Can we just get into this movie, because I think it was worth every penny.
Especially if you watched our second feature first. I would if you're going to do that, I would recommend
your palate. Is that
I did.
We'll get into that movie because there was a reason that I chose it.
And I want to hear your explanation.
Fair enough. Listen, you know what? I'll tell you right now. Counter programming, plain and simple.
We could have watched The Great Escape. Okay, we could have watched Steve McQueen.
Okay, you're yelling at me like I had control over the wheel.
You put it at the wheel.
So, I didn't make the movie. I simply suggested it, and the wheel chose. You know, it's like the claw. Oh, the claw, you've been chosen. Oh man, fists are flying today. What's going on?
All I'm saying is, I was actively angry at you in a way that I have never been before.
I will tell you, but here's the deal. We'll get into it, but I will agree with you. It does not hold up compared to my first viewing, which was a couple years ago. But let's talk Sisu first.
To be fair, though, before we get off this particular topic, once the wheel had spoken and I had shared what the wheel's results were, I think Jeff was already a bit hesitant.
I was like,
judging from his reaction. So,
oh crap! Here we go. I knew. Yeah.
All right, Sisu. First of all, I was a bit disappointed that the main character's name was not Sisu, because even in my notes, I kept referring to him as Sisu throughout my note taking. So I'm going to have trouble actually talking about this character's name.
Well, that's because he doesn't speak. You don't even know his name until like chapter 5 or something.
They do say it pretty early because the Nazis find his old dog tags and they identify.
Do you have like a database to go back and pull dog tags to find out who they belong to?
Well, I do want to say that I think this movie is sort of weirdly beautiful. I think that
it's gorgeous.
Cinematography is great. There's like beautiful landscapes, even like kind of beautiful close-up shots of his face.
Well, that's when you're getting into the 4K, because you see literally my first note, 5 minutes in, cinematography is exquisite. The colors are rich
the colors.
Saturated.
I was going to say that like they kick those up a notch. I think that they're maybe assisted a little bit, but to the film's benefit. The contrast is beautiful. The clarity is beautiful. You've got it on your TV, your big screen TV.
Yeah, this is
really close. Yeah,
I would have loved to have seen this in the theater. It was playing nowhere near us. It literally dropped in the theater for like a week and then just dumped on streaming. But I'm super happy that it was available and we got to talk about it, because this is something else. This is
I wouldn't be surprised if within a year we don't see like a US produced remake of this,
which will be terrible.
Why? Yeah. Because this is Finnish. It's a Finnish production. Yeah.
As is our second film, by the way.
I know. There's a nice little tie-in. That's about it. Nazis.
But yeah, so you're given the definition of Sisu, which is not this character's name. As a French word, white-knuckled determination appears when all hope is lost, and there's no literal translation for it in English. So I've been reading, just before we get into this movie itself, that a possible sequel is in the works. So because this title is the way it is, it's like this feeling of determination that this character experiences, you could very well go with another person. They don't have to carry through with the same, it could be like a Halloween 3 type of a thing.
That's not selling me on it.
Hey, Halloween 3 is very highly regarded.
Is it?
It really is.
Okay.
Yeah,
maybe you'll have to force me to watch it.
It's kind of become a cult classic.
It
at
has.
The time,
You put it on the wheel.
At the time, it wasn't accepted because it was
Well, because it was a
non-Michael
complete
Myers
departure,
movie.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
You
now
set up the
people
first two
really
movies.
love it.
That's the one with the masks. I don't want to digress too much.
Yes,
Right?
the
Yeah.
masks.
Okay. Fair enough.
Mhm.
Okay.
I just want to start out by saying that this movie, and I don't want to say this as a detriment to it, but it almost kind of has a Tarantino-esque feel, especially with the chapter titles coming up and the fonts. So it has that flavor, but I think it's much more artful.
Yes, very much so. I agree with you on that.
So it's, about an ex badass. Well, not ex, he still is, but he's this prospector, which is what he is when the movie starts. Corpy is his name. He's turned his back on the war. His family had been killed, and he became kind of like a one-man death squad, as he's described a little bit later on, and killed countless Russians. And when this movie, because you get a narration at the beginning where there's been an agreement between Russia and Finland, and that they're going to drive out the Nazis. These are in the closing months of the war in 1945. And this character has long since turned his back on the war because his family had been killed. And he's just lost the taste for it. So you see him in the middle of nowhere, camping out with his horse and his dog, and he's panning for gold. That's his very existence. And in the opening moments, he finds it. He hits the mother lode.
Yeah, that's a hell of a gold vein right there.
Yeah. He's Vern in the beginning of Stand By Me, digging for his pennies because he's got holes all over the place. And then he finally finds it.
His expression when he finds it is so profound. He just can't believe he's found this gold after all this time and all this effort.
He somehow unearths all this gold, breaks it up. So we don't know how much is left in that hole. He just brings as much as he can carry.
That's easily a couple of 100 extra pounds on the back of that horse, by the way. That's a lot of gold. Listen, I panned for gold when we were in Alaska. I didn't find anything like that.
You didn't dig
he finds
deep
one
enough.
fleck. He finds one fleck in the water and then just starts digging. And lo and behold, he finds it. But obviously, we'd probably still be there if it was real. So yeah, now all of a sudden he's got the 2 backpacks filled with gold. And what has he got to do with it? He's got to take it to the nearest town, which the Nazis have blown up.
Yeah, because now that the Nazis are being driven out, the Nazis have employed a scorched earth tactic, meaning that if they can't have it, nobody will. So they're burning bridges, towns, everything before they are forced out.
Yeah, just reiterating that Nazis are not good people.
This is what you see in the trailer, and it's a very simple setup here. So he finds his gold. He's on his horse. He's on his way, going in the direction that nobody wants to go in, towards the town that the Nazis have been forced from. But before they've destroyed it. And I guess he's unaware of this. And he passes a platoon of them on the road. They're about to shoot him. And the commander says, no, he's going towards certain death anyway.
First
Biggest
line of
mistake.
dialogue, 20 minutes in, first line of dialogue.
The biggest mistake this guy could have made, because he pays for it for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of convenience as far as this guy not being blown up or shot to death. But yeah, we learned pretty quickly these Nazis are holding a bunch of girls in the wagon, and they are not treating them very well. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Very satisfying though when they come up and
yeah, well that's like I said, I think we can all rally around Nazis getting blown up and shot multiple times. Nazis make good shields too, apparently. Minimal dialogue, a lot of tension, a lot of atmosphere, because that a lot of nice close-up shots of this guy just looking over his shoulder, kind of, as these Nazis are lined up behind him, ready to gun him down.
And talk about, detail in the picture. Like this guy's, you can see every wrinkle on this due to the clean cinematography here. This guy's face looks like a road map, and you can tell he's lived a life.
Oh, that scene where he takes his shirt off and you just see this scar that looks like he was just flayed open at one point, and you realize pretty quickly, even, taken away from the opening description that this guy's a badass. He's endured a lot to begin with. But I go back to the chapter because I like this 15-minute chapter in and out. This is really kind of 90 minutes at most, 6 chapters, 7 chapters.
Yeah. 93 minutes. I think it was.
So you can almost count down knowing that there's 6 chapters, you're like, all right, we're 3 chapters in. So we go from that chapter 2 into 3, where he's taking his horse right into the minefield.
Well, so it's interesting because he goes into the minefield, and because he goes into the minefield, they see that he has this gold, right?
Yeah, right, because he blows up the horse. The poor horse gets obliterated. Now he's got his bag of gold is scattered all over the place. And they realize pretty quickly what he's got on him.
Yeah, well, because he passes the first platoon, but then he encounters like a smaller group of Nazis who won't let him alone. The first platoon let him pass.
Right.
But these other guys, they stop him, with the intent to rob him and kill him. And then they find the gold. So he egregiously takes them out, easily. And unfortunately, the other platoon can hear the machine gun fire. So then they turn around to see what's up. And one of the Nazis still has the one piece of gold in his dying hand.
Right.
So that's how they figure that they want to go after this guy.
So they pursue him. They pursue him to the minefield, where he's actually pretty clever and sort of uses the mines against them, as smoke cover and other things. But then at this point, once they get through the minefield, where you do see people get obliterated,
he's throwing these things like shot puts,
and a horse, very upsetting.
The horse was, like I said, the horse was just decimated. That was very, very sad.
They radio in to somewhere, and their commanding officer's like, you're supposed to go to this checkpoint, and they find out who he is, and they explain that he lost his mind, that he had personally killed over 300 soldiers. The platoon leader's but he killed 7 of our men. And the other guy's like, yeah, the general says we were lucky.
This is the phone call at the beginning of John Wick. That's
right. Exactly. Yeah. Right. Because they even have a name from Russian legend for him, just like in John Wick, where they call him Baba Yaga. Here they call him Koshai. And if you're familiar with the Russian legend, Koshai the Deathless. Koshai is deathless because he hides his soul in little objects within objects within objects, so that he can never be killed.
Like a Russian nesting doll?
Yeah, like a Russian nesting doll.
Okay, interesting.
But usually it's he puts his soul inside a box, and the box is inside an egg, and the egg is inside something else. I
think he hid his soul in the dog.
And he also is a figure who's usually a bad guy, but who occasionally acts as a kind of almost like a trickster, kind of like Baba Yaga in Russian legend. So anyway, the Russian soldiers who fought against him, his first name's Atami, referred to him as Koshai. Usually if you read a Russian story, they'll say Koshai the Deathless, which I think is more powerful than immortal.
Right, because at one point later on, when with the Russian soldier, he actually is talking to the one girl, and he goes, do you really believe this guy's immortal? And she goes, no, he just refuses to die.
Right, he's deathless.
And I will say, he's not necessarily a good guy or a bad guy. He's just trying to get from point A to point B. The plot is, I find gold and I'm just trying to get it into a bank. I hope he has a bank account when he gets there, because I can't even cash a freaking check over here unless I have a bank account and put my card in.
Yeah, that was my thought. I'm like, whose land is this? That's the first question they're going to ask him when he goes to the bank.
Where did you find this again?
Yeah, this belongs to the government, sir, not you.
I don't know. I mean, this guy shows up with a bloody pickaxe on his back. I would give him whatever he wants.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean,
everybody moved away from him, including the guards at the door.
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah. What if he gets there and it's like pyrite? It's like fool's gold. His face is going to be red.
I mean, the whole thing is that they keep pursuing him because they want gold. And then because of this stupidity, they keep getting eliminated slowly.
Yeah, right. He's just taking them down. But what's interesting, so you bring in the story of the girls, which is very Mad Max Fury Road reminiscent. He does nothing to really kind of, these women free themselves.
He gives them guns.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he doesn't actively. Yeah, he arms them and leaves them to their own devices.
He trusts them.
care.
They can handle it.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No. Like I said,
he sees he recognizes, I think, the one girl who's the leader. Not that he knows her, but
Right.
Maybe there's a simpatico or something, a moment that they have.
Listen,
She has a quality. I think you
Yeah.
notice it right away. She has a defiant quality about her that I think.
These Nazis have these girls tied to ropes in front of the tank so that if they hit a mine first, they're blowing up before the tank does. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, all right, you're pieces of crap.
Mm-hmm. Which is why it's very satisfying when all those ladies get up.
No, this is very cathartic. Don't get me wrong.
After the John Wick phone call, whoever the commander is on the other end of the line says, forget it, just come back. You're lucky that you've only lost that many guys. They know that they're losing the war. So they're seeing, okay, we're not going back. We're going to take this guy's gold and we're going to desert. We're going to escape. Yeah. So he's their only option, or they're going to get hung somewhere in a public square. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's got other plans.
Yeah.
Oh,
because
speaking of getting hanged, that scene. Oh, that was horrible. Yeah, that was very visceral. That was a little too much.
This guy plays great possum, by the way. He does it several times in this movie. And were you counting how long he was underwater? Because I lost count for.
Well, did you realize at one point when he was underwater and he slit that guy's throat?
But even before that, he was down there for
out of his severed throat.
He was, but before that, he was down there for a long time before he even got to that.
You do that? I do that sometimes in movies. You're like hold your breath. You're like, all right.
Did you learn that as well? You could slit somebody's throat and breathe through.
No, that's a new one for me. That one I haven't employed.
And there's a nice Indiana Jones moment where he goes under the truck. But brilliantly, so that he throws off the dog's scent, he ruptures the gas tank so they can't smell him anymore.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. And then lights himself on fire.
Yeah.
The beard still fully intact.
If you see someone willingly set themselves on fire, I would not follow that person. That person
that's a deal breaker for you.
Has a degree of commitment that you do not have. That guy was willing to set himself on fire. Do not follow him. Give up.
Well, these guys are idiots anyways, because at one point you had the pilot refueling his plane and he's smoking a cigar right at the gas pump. And I'm like, all right, dude, that's not safe.
And then they get his dog, and I was very afraid for that dog. They already blew up the horse. I'm like, what are they going to do to the dog?
Yeah, no, this dog, at the end, all of a sudden the dog's back with him. I'm like, how did he get his dog back?
He must have come back for him. He must have come back for him.
I love how he, after he frees himself, or actually it's just fate that frees him from his hanging situation. After he jams his foot into that nail for some leverage. Then the plane flying down, shakes the sign, so it knocks him off. There's that it's almost like a ceremony where he's taking the bullets and the shrapnel out of his body to prepare himself for the final battle. So once you see that, these guys are in trouble now.
It's all over.
Yeah, there's a lot of Nazis getting crushed in this.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Literally, chapter 6 is kill them all.
Yeah,
fair enough. Yeah. That girl know how to drive stick shift.
Well, all cars were stick shift then.
It doesn't mean that she knew how to drive it.
Yeah, I think that girl grew up with a lot of guys, so she knew her stuff.
She's probably a farmer's daughter.
And speaking of her, that whole scene where she's just reveling in the fact before they're set free, and that the two guards are there with them, she just with glee tells them that they're dead and who this guy is, and then prophecy comes true. The seconds later, he kills both of these guys. And then, as we said before, arms all the women. He allows them to take the guns. And the ending reminded me of Octopussy in more ways than one. Before they get on the plane, when Corpy is on the tank and he's banging it with his pickaxe, and the two guys that are in the tank are like, what's that? And then the commander says to the other guy, you go out and get him. Just like the plane scene in Octopussy. And then, of course, there's the fight on the plane at the end, which is very similar to that James Bond movie. So I think this is taking cues. I don't think these are accidents. But the big fight, which is what you want to see, is Corpy against the Nazi commander.
Bruno.
And he gives him what for? I'll tell you, this guy. But to be fair, Corpy is battered by this time. So there's a handicap here, but it's a heck of a fight. And at one point, he takes one of the straps that the paratroops hold on to in the back of the plane, wraps it around his fist, and is hitting him with like the buckle on it.
Yeah,
And you can see his face ripped open.
Oh yeah, no, he takes a beating. This was almost reminiscent to me of Indiana Jones when he's fighting the mechanic.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. That too.
So, and then we get a little Dr. Strangelove bomb riding.
It is a very satisfying end for that guy. It's yeah, I was like, how is he going to get out of this? Because there's no parachute. He's already got the gold, right? So that's taken care of. So he's frantically looking around for a parachute. And then he just kind of straps himself in as much as he can, closes his eyes.
To the back of the plane,
yeah,
crucially.
You don't go to the front.
Yeah. He goes as far back as he can, and then he straps himself down.
He takes a beating.
And like we said, it's 93 minutes long. It's in and out, and it gives you what you think it's going to give you. So there's no disappointment at all. I think the trailer is insane. The movie is insane. So if you reveled in this trailer before seeing John Wick, I would heartily recommend plinking down the 1999 or whatever it is, and you will enjoy yourself.
My main problem is the fact that the trailer basically gives you every beat of this movie.
Well, there's not a lot of beats to this movie.
No, there's not. But, again, you see the knife come through the bottom of the plane in the trailer, and the pilot turns and goes, I think we have a problem. This stuff is coming. That would have been a nice reveal. There was just too many.
But they want to sell it to the audience wants to see something like this.
I understand what a trailer's there for, but again, if you see the trailer, and we saw it multiple times, you're waiting for these moments. And this,
I don't know.
I've said
all
this
I really remembered
times.
from the trailer was exploding Nazis. So I didn't.
No, I showed the trailer to quite a few people. So I've seen it a couple times. But we even got that little coda with the girls making it back across the border in the tank with the one final soldier tied to the cannon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they did enough to him.
Me neither.
I don't think they were done with him. They might not have been done with him. Who knows?
I was kind of hoping because the first time you see him, he's buttoning up his pants.
Yes. Yeah.
He's the rapist of this platoon.
And he's the one that I wanted to see get it the most.
Yeah, they did wait. Yeah, but
because when they actually surround him at the end, you hear him screaming. So you're thinking they're just eviscerating him. But he seemed pretty put together even though he was tied to the end of the tank at the end. Yeah.
I mean, we didn't see his pants, so we don't know what happened.
No, yeah.
But yes, he makes it into the bank, slaps his bag down, and his first and only line of dialogue: "Big bills, please. Won't be so heavy to carry."
And I was thinking to myself, okay, this is like an old timey bank, even though it is the 40s. That's still old timey for us. Where's the guy that has to come out and bite the gold to make sure it's,
Like I said, if it's pyrite, he'd be
it's Dub Taylor from Creature from Black Lake. Hold on. I got to make sure that gold is real.
Gotta bite each one.
Yeah, he's got to bite each one. And like we said, sequel could be in the works because it made more in the box office than its budget. So a sequel is very likely, and they could go wherever they want with this. So we'll see. Who else could you blow up, though, that would be as satisfying as Nazis?
Right?
Yeah.
I heard there's some Nazis on the moon now. You might want to go blow them up.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes we mention the soundtrack, and I think that's worthy mention here. Lots of vocals on the soundtrack. Very,
very Westerny.
Yeah. Almost like a human take on the dirigidu. It's a very bizarre. I'm kind of
enjoying that. Can you do that again? Wow, he's just making yummy noises.
It's very effective. Yes. Nice music to see Nazis blown up to. So, all right, buckets of gold. Should we give it instead of buckets of popcorn?
Gold buckets. What is this? MTV Movie Awards? I'll go 4 1/4. I enjoyed it. I really liked it. Going back to the cinematography again, there's no surprises. If you see the trailer, it's all right there.
Yeah.
But take it for what it is. Trailer, man, there's nothing wrong with it, not whatsoever.
Yep, you're given what you want from the trailer. Take it for what it is. I'll give it 4. I'll give it 4 solid buckets out of 5.
Same. I will also give it 4.
Yeah. Very enjoyable.
Yeah,
I have highly recommended this to numerous people,
and I will as well.
Maybe Max we'll get it. It does seem like a Max kind of movie.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Yeah. I did see that the director cited First Blood as a huge influence. Although I don't think John Rambo actually killed anybody in the first movie. I think he just wanted to be left alone, which is what this guy does. He just wants to be left alone. They brought this on themselves, but I liked it. And the dog was fun too. The dog didn't have a name, by the way.
All right, Jeff. So it's your treat at the concession stand.
We are going to the concession stands. Yes. I was looking for some moon rocks, but they don't exist. So I had to go with pop rocks.
Oh.
Well,
Inspired.
don't drink any Coke with these.
Oh, yeah. Hold on, because we're going to talk about this. And I had to school my children on this because...
so much candy is in the realm of urban legend. It's
crazy. So let's talk about this. Everyone... I'm hoping everyone who's listening knows what pop rocks are.
Oh, yeah, they still make them. You can still get pop rocks.
Oh, no, they do, yeah. So, but we have to go all the way back to 1956 for the origin of pop rocks.
Really?
General Foods, before Kraft bought them out, there was a product inventor by the name of William Mitchell, and he was trying to make a carbonated version of Kool-Aid. So imagine like a solid block that you would just drop in a glass of water and it would carbonate it and make it a soda, a flavored soda.
Okay.
So this is basically what the guy was tasked with creating. His goal was to put carbon dioxide directly into a solid that could then dissolve in a flat liquid such as water and create a fizzy soda-like beverage. He failed. But the resulting powder didn't work as he had hoped, but he was left with a solid, sugary, crystalline substance that looked rather odd. So he was surprised to find that when the chunks would dissolve and pop inside his mouth when the saliva would heat up the carbon dioxide.
Is this guy's name Walter White by any chance?
Yeah, right? Imagine that. Well, that's a different type of rock candy. If anyone has ever consumed Pop Rocks, it's like a little mini firework inside your mouth.
Did the first explosion knock him back like Mike TV and Willy Wonka?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it ever would have made it to the market. But I mean, I guess right away this guy knew he had something special, but they waited 20 years before they actually brought this to the market. So he patented it in 1961, but it did not hit shelves until 1976.
I was going to say that I'm pretty sure that it was new on the market the first time that I had it or saw it.
So, yeah, probably as a kid. I mean, 1976. So I was 9.
Don't make me say how old I was.
I know. Go ahead, crunch the numbers.
I was 5.
Yeah.
I was not old enough to eat Pop Rocks.
No. But they were an instant hit. They sold over $100 million in product that first year. At one point, they were making 5 million pounds of the candy, that 2.5 billion pouches at 3 different facilities. So right out of the gate, this thing was like gangbusters. It was like super popular.
Oh, yeah. I remember all a circle of friends all having them at the same time. And you'd sit there with your mouth open and let everybody hear it like that.
Right. You put them on your tongue and you just listen to them pop. You watch them fly out of your mouth. So, but as we already alluded to, with great success comes great controversy. In 1979, which was just 3 years later, Pop Rock sales plunged 24%. And by 1982, General Foods decided to pull the candy from production, citing a lack of success. Any guesses as to why the sharp decline?
Somebody said that it did something bad?
Urban legend.
Urban legend.
Could it have to do with the soda reference?
It had everything to do with this urban spread legend that mixing Pop Rocks with soda would cause your stomach to swell with gas and explode. That's right.
Actually, what I remember specifically is that the rumor was that the kid who played Little Mikey.
Yeah. So that's the culmination of all this, right?
In the Life commercial, died from eating Pop Rocks with soda.
So what's the correlation? How did he get...
I don't know. So
thrown into this
so bad that people believe TV star Mikey from the Life cereal commercial, exactly what Christine just said, had died due to mixing the supposed lethal combination together. There was no social media back then. This was word of mouth. Somebody created this, and it just went from kid to kid, to school, to state to state, and we all believed it. Everybody knew this urban legend.
So
to the point where people like stopped buying it.
If I were the makers of poprocks, I would get that kid, make a commercial, and say, "Hey, look, Mikey, he likes it, and he's alive."
Oh, you're a genius. Because they did have to go on basically a publicity relations tour to kind of mend that
with Mikey.
Safe.
With Mikey?
No, that would have been genius, actually.
Because when were those commercials? Mikey's probably 30 years old at that point.
Well, yeah, no, that had to have been Life Cereal was 70s. Probably.
I think that was early 70s, that commercial,
70s,
right?
Maybe 73. So, I mean, this is only a couple years later. But
All right, a young man. He's a young man by this time.
And you'd be like, look, I'm still alive. And they're like, that's not him. That's not him.
Look,
So, yes.
the kid's, he's got a mustache. That's not Mikey.
That's a milk mustache, first of all. So they actually had to go on this public relations tour. They ran full-page ads in 45 major publications citing that Pop Rocks were safe. They wrote over 50,000 letters to local school boards and principals citing there were no health hazards associated with Pop Rocks and soda consumption. They had to update the product information forms, FAQs, and they gave new marketing material to all their sales team, making sure that nothing was misconstrued. And then finally, they actually brought out the inventor himself, William Mitchell, and he did school tours and conferences explaining to these kids and these parents that Pop Rocks were safe to eat.
You know, I think in some way that it had to have been parents stopping kids from buying it because kids think something potentially dangerous is attractive to kids.
Yeah.
They would be like,
the idea that I could
let's
potentially blow up someone's.
You'd be in class, right? And suddenly, just like a Sisu Nazi, you would blow up.
Damn, Pop Rocks got another one. It's crazy. It is insane. But I mean, we're not even talking like Mentos, right? Mentos in soda does have a reaction.
But not in your stomach. It does.
Why wouldn't it?
You can have a Mentos and eat.
No, I'm going to start the rumor right now that Mentos and
drink soda
is going to kill you.
Because the reason why it doesn't is because there's other chemical reactions happening in your stomach.
So my stomach acids are killing it.
Yeah. Whereas when you put the Mentos into the Coke bottle, which I'm sure you've all done with your kids, you know, we certainly did this experiment.
We did it in Cub Scouts
a few times. You know, it's a straight chemical reaction from the candy to the soda, and there's no other element mixing with it.
So they had to go on this campaign. So they stopped production in 1982. And then 3 years later, they sold two candy investors, purchased the recipe and rights to Pop Rocks, and started Carbonated Candy Ventures in Buffalo, New York. And so this little company started making Pop Rocks again. And by 1986, they were back up over 1 million packets. And they ended up they sold the manufacturing rights to some Spanish company, Zeta Espacial, which manages an international production and distribution. So Pop Rocks in America is manufactured in Atlanta, Georgia, but everywhere else it is made overseas in some Spanish.
And that's the case today. If you were to find
Yeah. Kraft General Foods basically no longer owns the rights to Pop Rocks. But this international company made multiple flavors. Originally, I think it was only cherry was the only flavor. But now you have grape, green apple, strawberry, watermelon, blue raz. Do you know they actually have seasonal flavors? Chocolate, pumpkin patch orange, and candy cane.
Really?
Yeah, that doesn't sound very appealing to me. So there's actually a book written by Marvin Rudolph, who was one of the laboratory scientists. In 2008, it's called Pop Rocks: The Inside Story of America's Revolutionary Candy. And there's a lot of in-depth interview with the guys who invented this, and a deeper dive into the lore of the urban legend. But I want to mention this guy William Mitchell, who is credited with creating these. He worked for General Foods for over 35 years, and he has over 70 patents. And some of those include Tang, Jello, and Cool Whip.
Huh.
So, Mr. Mitchell, thank you.
This guy's like the Edison of
He's like the
junk
Willy
food.
Wonka. He's the Willy Wonka, man. He's out there.
So, and I'm just, remembering now, I'm reminiscing about the texture and flavor of Pop Rocks. There was a little sting. It's a little bit of pain to go with the pleasure of Pop Rocks. If you had a particularly large one that popped on your tongue.
You want the big ones, yeah. That
Because
probably had a little more carb.
Sometimes you could just bite those just lightly enough where you could stimulate the pop. Where
you could actually bring it on.
Yeah. Yep.
So there you go.
Pleasure with a little bit of pain. Pop Rocks. Yeah. There's their slogan right there.
Right. Let's get Mikey back. Whole new campaign. I'm still alive.
Yeah, really, though, if you're going to go on tour to tell your audience that there's nothing wrong, they must have pursued him. They must have tried to get him.
Imagine everywhere this guy goes, he's like Snake Plissken. It's like, we heard you were dead.
Yeah.
Pop Rocks. Go get some.
I haven't had a Pop Rock for, I don't know,
I can't tell you
45 years or something.
I'm sure I could probably get them at Five Below. I don't think they're at the concession stand. I don't
No,
need someone sitting behind me.
Nobody wants to hear you crinkling Pop Rocks in your mouth in the movie theater. Come to think of it, it's a really wet, obnoxious sound, and I was just for a second considering to get some and to add a sound effect. I wouldn't even want to hear that. I wouldn't even want to hear that. So
no, but you're catering right into the kids who want to right. Pop Rock sticking off your tongue, and now you got multiple colors, mix them together. Who knew?
Memories, Pop Rocks.
Yes, I'm still boggled that news like that somehow makes it around. And now it's so easy on social media, but somebody had to start that rumor. Somebody started that.
Sure, but think about, we all kind of seem to know the same urban legends when we were kids, even if we grew up in different parts of the country. Like my husband grew up in the Chicago area. I grew up in upstate New York, but we had both heard so many urban legends that were similar, maybe not exactly the same, but similar. There were like little regional differences.
Right. And next week, I'm not going to reveal it just yet, but I'm up for the concession stand. We got another one. Another urban legend. Yeah.
Ooh, interesting. I guess we'll have to wait for that one.
Yeah.
That's a teaser right there, kids.
So, all right. So, I'm almost hesitant. Maybe we should stay at the concession stand this week.
I'm staying.
Yeah.
Fine. I guess this is my apology tour. I feel like I'm doing this a lot lately.
Yeah.
I apologize for my movie choices.
Actually, I want to know. I have a few questions off the top.
Fair enough.
I have 3 questions.
Okay.
So the first one is how did you find this?
So this is the interesting thing about this movie is this was a big deal on Facebook and social media back in 2010. This movie, 10% of its budget was crowdsourced. This was one of the very first movies that ever came out. They had a website devoted to be a part of our production, help support this movie. They released like teaser trailers. If you watch the end credits, there's a whole bunch of people that gave this production money and were given credits.
And they want their money back?
Listen, it's not high art by any means.
But my second question for you is, why did you keep watching it after the first 5 minutes? Like, what would make
But
you
I think
stay?
I bought in. But I mean, I didn't donate money to this cause. Like I said, online, it had a big presence. And, the idea that people were putting money into this, it's a great concept. It's not a new concept. I mean, Robert Heinlein wrote a book back in the 40s about Nazis on the moon. It's not a high concept. I'm not telling you that this is the end all to be all as far as movies. It was very biting commentary 12 years ago. Not so much now. There's a lot of stuff I don't think carries well.
No.
Right.
Like the whole movie. But I watched this for free and I still want
you
my
were still
money
mad?
back.
Fair enough. I'll send you a check.
My question is, if this was 10% crowdsourced,
yes,
I'm like, it's not a sequel.
Well, there is a sequel made.
There is a sequel now, but at the time,
made a sequel. This was just somebody, they came up with the idea. They had money in the budget. They were making this movie. Like I said, it was almost an online experience to be a part of it and to watch it. And this movie got made.
But I'm wondering, because this director, I'm just looking at what else he did. And one of them is Star Wreck, which is I can only assume.
That's a very cult movie as well.
So maybe on the strength of that, he got this 10% crowdsourcing.
Yeah, there was a
secured.
lot of it. Listen, I mean, people, throw you $5. I want to see my name up in the credits of a movie. Like I said, some of the dialogue was actually provided by Patreons. This was before like Patreon even existed. 2008 to 2010 was basically the lead up online for this. And like I said, they released teaser trailers. You could actually go online and request this play in your home theater. Hey, I want this movie to play in my local theater, and you could demand it.
And in 2008, if I'm reading this correctly, they took the trailer to the Cannes Film Festival to get financing and were successful.
Yeah, I mean, it's, if you have an artist with a vision, I'm not saying this is high vision, but it's an interesting side note in film history that these guys basically found enough people to believe in what they were trying to do.
I didn't even know what this was. I had never heard of this before watching it, before it showed up on the wheel, I guess is. So
I've been very aware of it, and it's been quite a while since I've seen it. And yes, actually, after rewatching it, I'm like, all right, this does not hold up at all. But after sitting through Sisu, and it's a very serious, it takes itself very seriously, even though you're blowing up Nazis. This does not take itself seriously.
No, but you got to think it just seems ill-advised all the way around. Nazis on the moon is the premise. That's basically what it is, that they've been there since 1945. How they get there is not really divulged.
Right. They have still primarily, 1940s technology, which, by the way, just because they're Nazis doesn't mean they don't need spacesuits.
They've established like an atmosphere, and that's not really divulged either, because there's like a little city on the moon. And so then their vehicles are pretty much UFOs. So it's suggested that any UFO sighting since the 1940s have been in actuality Nazis. And so in the society, you get introduced to who is the main character, I think anyway, Renata, and she's a teacher. She's the Nazi with a heart of gold. I don't know if that's a stereotype. Maybe they were trying to start one.
Well, I mean, I guess if you're raised a Nazi, do you know that you're bad?
Later, she gets a blowout, and so she's a good person now.
She encounters like contemporary neo-Nazis like on Earth, and then she's like, oh, maybe we're not so good. I'm like, did she not know about the Holocaust or anything else?
No, because if you're living in a society and that's telling you you're the good guy, of course they're not going to tell you.
I think you're thinking about this really more than the movie deserves.
This could be an infamous episode.
Well, you're not going to find me defending this movie. The message. Again, after rewatching it, I'm like, all right, everybody in this movie is a stereotype, and some of the stereotypes are really offensive. Right. Well, I mean, you get James Washington being a black astronaut, a U.S. astronaut that they basically albinoized.
That in itself, if that were in a movie that did not involve Nazis at all, would be entirely questionable.
And he spends half the movie not realizing what they did to him. And I'm like, did you not look at your hands? Like, And
of course, and then the only other black people they encounter in this movie all carry guns, so let's just keep perpetuating.
Oh yeah, no, there's a lot of
urban stereotypes. I was honestly like, first of all, you don't know off the top, like, am I supposed to laugh at this? Did they mean it to be a comedy, or is it just that bad?
I think it is described as a comedy. It's meant, like I said, go back 10 years, look, the president is Sarah Palin.
Palin.
And we find out that, at the end of the day, the Nazis are not that bad because the right-wing government is even more despicable.
The Nazis are portrayed as almost
sympathetic.
The protagonists. Yeah. Because the character of Washington, who is the closest to, a good guy, comes and goes. There's long stretches of the movie where he's not in it.
Yeah, you cut like 3 months later, and it's like, oh, he's now like a homeless man living on the street. It's like, yeah, there's huge lapse, and I will say the special effects are pretty impressive.
Well, that's the one thing I'll say that's going for it. From like a low budget crowd-funded movie, the CGI looks pretty good.
No, it looks phenomenal. It actually won an award.
Did it really?
Yeah. Yeah, the special effects, and you got Zeppelins in space, and you know their moon base is a giant swastika. You know, visually, I guess it's kind of tongue in cheek, but tonally, it's a mess. You know?
And poor Udo Kier, who is I hope this wasn't one of his last film roles, infamous for Andy Warhol's Frankenstein and Dracula, and so memorable in My Own Private Idaho as well. Yeah,
but like we just mentioned before, though, there's a sequel. They made a sequel to this.
Entirely crowdsourced, right?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it to me, it reminds me a little, the aesthetics of Sky Captain and
like steampunkish kind of.
Yeah.
There's a steampunkish kind of quality to it.
Yeah. I don't know. I will keep my picks off the wheel from now on.
No.
You had other movies.
Well, I did have other movies. One of them actually overlapped with you. I just thought I haven't seen this movie in years, and it was like, oh, that sounds like fun counter programming.
No, it shows that the wheel has a sick sense of humor. It saw that one up there as like, I'm going to teach them a lesson. You put that on this wheel.
We got some clunkers out there, and this is one of them. I got nothing. I'm not defending it in any way, shape, or form. I have gotten nothing. After watching it, I'm like, oh, they're gonna hate me.
So
yeah, it was not good.
So, but let's get some more details. When was the first time you saw this? Did you see it?
I saw it in the theater.
You saw it in a theater. It played in a theater.
That's why you kept watching it after the first 5 minutes. I was trying to figure out, like, why did he turn this on?
No, like I said, there was such an allure. There was the idea. I mean, again, this is 10, 12 years ago, before people like crowdsourced, before that kind of thing even existed. Even, like I said, Sky Captain, Kevin Conrad went out and he created the first 5 minutes of that movie. It existed online, that he created on his own computer before it actually became a real feature. So the early internet, like some of this stuff just kind of like, the creativity was there and people had opportunities to make this type of movie. And there was people that were willing to support it. Like I said, I never donated a dime, but I was invested enough that I had to see this through. And so, yeah, I saw this in the theater.
So how did
I remember
respond?
Enough that they made a sequel.
No. I mean, like when you were in the theater.
Oh, I don't remember there being many people there at all. It was probably like a late night screening. My kids were little. I probably, ducked out at 10 o'clock at night for a screening. I don't remember any crowd experience. It wasn't
so
like
you don't
there was
remember like if people were laughing or
no.
Okay.
No. But like you said, there are moments where you're like, am I even supposed to be laughing at this?
Right. That's kind of
because it was built. It is built as kind of like this satire comedy, and with the George H. Bush spaceship. The idea. The whole. You find out that every country except for Finland had weaponized their mere spaceship or anything else that was there was a lot of clever things at the time that I was like, oh, that's kind of funny, but now it's like it just falls flat. Again, Sarah Palin was a real threat.
The stuff that could be construed as funny here, you're still reeling from the political incorrectness of the previous scene for it to register.
Yeah. The idea that, the Nazis are using Charlie Chaplin's The Great Dictator as a marketing tool. And then when she finally ran out of it, she's like, oh, he was making fun of the Fuhrer the whole time. It's like, yeah, it's the joke. It was more entertaining, I guess, 12 years ago.
Well,
it does not hold up in any way, shape, or form.
Well, the interesting thing as well is that when I went to go look at some reviews,
did they say, do you really want to watch this?
Well, I was expecting them to be attacks, right?
No, people love this. They're online. Well, there's a lot.
Well, they weren't.
Okay.
Loving it, but let me just read some of them. They were just like meh reviews, like from publications. I mean, not from viewers.
Right.
Seattle Times, a great idea with a lousy execution, which is kind of like a backhanded compliment, right? Variety just said kind of lame. It's not like anybody was outraged by this.
No, which it should be. Just the treatment of this poor James Washington is enough to.
And this was interesting. In the UK, it was purchased by distributor Revolver. And Revolver released it for only one day.
One day.
Theaters.
Yeah.
As it's almost as if they didn't really watch it before they bought it, and then they actually watched it and like,
we got to get our distributor guy in here.
But the filmmakers fought, and Revolver conceded and let it play for however long it made money in the theaters, and then took it out. I think it made money. I didn't really look at box office numbers on this enough to warrant them getting a sequel together. So it must have fans if they've sourced the sequel.
It does very much have a cult following.
Yeah, but who are those?
Well, that is the question.
An extremely underground cult following.
I just brought this to the masses. It's my fault.
It's a brainwashed cult in this particular case.
Well, on which end, though? The Nazis.
Ooh, man.
That's an exercise in futility on this one.
I think that we need this every once in to cleanse the palate. Next week is going to be, we'll get back to business as usual next week. But this is a good chance to just kind of scratch our heads like, what the hell did we just watch?
Yeah. Or alternately, you could leave it running and then just do some Amazon shopping, which is what I did after a while.
That's a true sign that you are not invested.
Yeah. I was like, okay.
So you're saying you're not watching the sequel with Nazi dinosaurs?
And in fact, my husband came in at one point and he kind of cocked his head and he was like, what are you watching? I'm like, please don't make me explain.
No, she just said F and Jeff. F and Jeff.
And your husband being a fan of what was that Tubi movie that he suggested we watch?
Actually, he likes garbage movies. He was like, no. He only saw like a few minutes and he was like, no, I'm leaving. So
I remember it being much cleverer. So sorry, kids.
All right. So the big question is, how does it rate next to Condor Man?
Condor Man was a masterpiece.
I don't know how to explain this to you, but we're going to achieve a new low today.
Negative? Minus?
Yes. We're going to have negative buckets. We're going to have empty buckets for this. Minus 5.
Does the bucket have a hole in it?
This is the worst movie I've ever seen.
Wow. I don't know if I go quite. I got to give it 1 bucket for the special effects. The special effects hold up pretty damn well.
Yeah, I got to go. I forget what I gave Invisible Man, which was the only movie we watched that angered me.
Which we love, but
yeah, I have to go at a flat line 0 with this one.
There you go. Oh, so rave reviews from me. I do highly recommend that you go back and give Invisible Man another shot.
No. I'm sorry.
Wash away all the ideas that this is.
I would probably be more angry. I would probably be more angry a second time.
That is true. All right, so let's go right into what else did we do, because I think that maybe we have something better to.
I have a great recommendation this week, actually.
All right, that doesn't involve Nazis?
It does not involve Nazis.
Okay.
So this was a movie that I'd actually wanted us to review, but it was only in theaters for a short time, actually here, even in Chicago, and I assumed that it didn't even run anywhere near you, which is Polite Society. And
no, we talked about that.
Yes. And I watched it this week, and it is awesome.
You know what's right? I loved it. We talked about this because I loved the trailer, but it was not playing anywhere.
So it's a great movie. It's about a British Pakistani family who their oldest daughter is like an art school dropout. Their youngest daughter practices karate and wants to grow up to be a stunt woman in film. And the older daughter gets involved with this family. She becomes engaged to this very wealthy guy, but the youngest daughter suspects that there's something bad or suspicious about this family. And it turns out that she's right.
Spoiler alert.
But you kind of know this from the beginning, but it is so much fun. It's so fun. It's so funny. There's great action sequences. I listened to an excellent interview actually with the director, Nita Manzoor. She was on the Vulture podcast Into It a few weeks ago, and she talked about how she loved action movies growing up, and how she really wanted to make a different kind of action movie. It was really, really good. It's really good. I cannot recommend it highly enough.
Did you see it in the theater or is this streaming?
It's streaming now. Yeah, you have to rent it like you did for Sisu, but yeah, it's great. It's so worth it.
Yeah, that actually looked like a lot of fun.
So I delved further into the world of Wreck. I watched the sequel. Wreck
you
2.
did?
Yes.
Okay.
So, but I think it was a case because Christina, your big thing was you wished that they revealed what was going on earlier in the film.
A little bit earlier. Yeah.
You could appreciate it a bit more.
Yeah.
I think that once they did get into it, which they delve deeply into the sequel, it makes it a little less appealing because part of the appeal is that, that frenetic energy of the first one, you don't know what's going on. Now you know what's at stake because I don't know if you guys are going to watch or if Jeff, you're even going to attempt that Wreck movie. It is one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. That's my
saying
personal
a lot,
view.
so I'm going to say that.
So into the sequel, the whole thing is that it's infected / zombies like loose in an apartment building. And the apartment building has been quarantined from the outside so that people can't get out. And it's all like a found footage thing because there's a TV crew that's in there that was accompanying the fire department when they got the call before the building got quarantined. So the second feature takes place with a second doctor outside the building. So it's the same night, goes in with a team of 6 soldiers. So you're thinking that you're going to get like an Aliens type sequel to further explore what's going on, to bring out any survivors or what have you. And then it's revealed pretty early on that this doctor is actually a priest who was tasked by the Vatican secretly to go in there and get a blood sample that they think is in there from the original possessed girl from the top floor.
Was he played by Russell Crowe?
It's all about them. And there is some interesting things because they established that it's a collective consciousness from these infected. So it's all the same spirit or demon or whatever you want to call it. A hive mind, because whenever they get one of these infected, they're talking to it as if it's the girl in the upstairs apartment. Where are you? We know you're hiding somewhere, and she's laughing at them or, talking through them.
But why? Okay. I mean, I would ask the question then, why didn't that occur in the first movie when they became infected?
I don't. Well, maybe because nobody asked them. Why didn't you say this in the first movie? You didn't ask me.
That sounds like you make your first movie and then they're like, "This was so successful, let's make a sequel." And it's like you said, all right, let's go back and let's
retrofit it. Yeah,
why? Right, and it's like just leave it be then. Just let it. And
I do have to tell you, because at the end of the first one, when of course the cameraman ill-advisedly, after the attic door swings open and he sticks his camera up there and looks around and he's going to get attacked, there's like a feral child up there that they don't explain.
Right.
They go back into that attic.
Right?
That's in the first movie. They go back into that attic and they find a bunch of kids like in cages up there that are all infected.
Okay.
So it's like they've been guinea pigs, that's what they are. So there's a bit of explanation, and I won't tell you how she figures into it, but we do see Angela again at some point. It's not anywhere near like if Rec was working on 95% effectiveness, this is like 70%.
Is this Rec 2?
Rec 2.
Rec 2.
There's also a Rec 3 and a Rec 4, and I don't know if I'm going to go there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they really explain it.
This one definitely ends with a sequel in mind. So, yeah. Yeah.
Now we got to do trilogy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will not be watching it. I did enjoy your review of it. I can enjoy it from afar. How's that?
Will you watch good. Evil Dead Rise?
I don't know. That lady was too creepy for me.
She was good. She was
Oh, that's
really
fair.
good. Yeah.
That's fair. She could be the greatest actress in the world. I don't need to look at her.
Yeah.
It's a little too disturbing for me.
Yeah.
So I find it funny that you're delving into all this stuff, because I went the other end of the spectrum. I finally watched all episodes of Muppets Mayhem on Disney Plus.
Oh.
And
What is the deal with that? What is the setup for this show?
So basically, the setup is that Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem are this world famous band that have been around for 50 years, and they make their living touring, and they're having the time of their lives. And there's a record company that's going out of business. And this girl, Nora, is tasked. She's trying to make her name in the industry or whatever. And she realizes that the Electric Mayhem signed a contract for an album that they never released. So now she's trying to get them together in a studio. So you have elements of the Muppet Show where you do have a lot of cameos from famous musicians. There was a lot of people I never heard of in my life, so that just shows I'm old. But there's one episode that is a direct spoof on the Beatles Get Back, to the point where Peter Jackson actually comes in to film it. There's Yoko Ono references. They make a River Bottom Nightmare Band reference. But they don't like this is the Muppets that are not relying on Miss Piggy and Kermit. The five main characters from the Mayhem. So you got Dr. Teeth, you have Animal, Lips, Janice, and Zoot. And I will tell you, the voice acting is spot on. Janice took a little bit. She's about the only one I thought felt a little off. But you're talking about, people taking over these roles again, 50 years later. They lean into the history of the band. Sometimes when they're looking at old footage, they'll show you like one of the episodes of the Muppets where they're playing with Elton John, or when they were in the Thanksgiving Day parade, probably like 1978 or something like that. Weird Al shows up at one point, which is kind of fun. Each episode is only like 20 minutes. So there's a whole backstory with Dr. Teeth, and you find out his family are famous dentists, and that he was set up to be a dentist. Hence his name, Dr. Teeth. And Floyd actually takes him on some side quest, and he ends up becoming a musician. And so his family hates Floyd. They ruined Dr. Teeth's medical career. I will say the humans are the weakest link, but I think that's always true in a Muppet Show.
Wow.
Like I said, there's 3 or 4 main characters, Nora being one of them. She's and her sister comes into it. There's a guy who, for 3 episodes, you think he's the bad guy. And then you find out that he's not the bad guy. So there really is no antagonist. It's just, the band's one episode, she gives them cell phones and they become obsessed with being online, and they break up. So the one thing she's trying to do is pull them together, and they fall apart. But it's very entertaining. I like it. There's a flashback to Baby Animal that will rival Grogu. Like you'd be like, oh, we need more Baby Animal. So I really enjoyed it. I will say the songs outside of the main theme song for the show, and that's only because you hear it 10 times while watching all the episodes together. The songs are they're not memorable, and then there's nothing unique about them.
Why didn't they get Paul Williams?
I don't know because they do reference their one song that's in the Muppet movie.
Can you picture that?
Yeah, as their big hit. But I enjoyed it immensely. I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic. Very family friendly. Nothing.
How many episodes are there?
I think there's 10. I want to say 10. And again, they're only like 20 minutes. Sit through the credits. There's a little Zoot thing at the end of each episode. It's fun. It's just very fun. To me, it's kind of like, all right, the Muppets are back. This is what you don't need to bring Kermit out. You don't need to redo them like The Office. There are other characters besides Kermit, Miss Piggy, and Fozzie. And I think this is very well done. I enjoyed it. So check it out. And
I'll have to check that out. Yeah.
If you sit through the very last episode, you do get a Waldorf and Statler.
All right.
There you go.
So highly recommended?
Highly recommend.
Okay.
Mayhem.
All right. So then what are we doing next week?
Oh, I think we're going into the Spider-Verse.
I think we are. Now, this is interesting because when we covered Into the Spider-Verse, however many years ago that was now, 2019, I believe.
Yeah.
This was the one and only new film that we've reviewed that out of the gate got a 5-bucket review.
Ooh.
So this next movie has a lot to live up to here at TMI.
I'm telling you right now, the buzz is pretty substantial. So let's hope it holds up. So.
I'm trying to keep away from any and all spoilers, so I don't know anything about this.
I think I'm actually going to go see it tonight.
And along with Across the Spider-Verse, Christina, I will let you announce our co-feature.
Yes, we are going to watch Belle, which is the most recent film directed by Mamoru Hosoda. This is part of my continuing quest to make everybody in America love Hosoda as much as they love Miyazaki. On this show, we have reviewed in the past Summer Wars and Mirai. And you will see certain elements of Summer Wars in this. You can sort of feel like he's refining his ideas. Now, I normally watch everything in Japanese, as you know. But when my son and I went to the theater to see this film, the only showing that we could go see was an English version. So I'm actually going to ask you guys to watch it in English. I never do this.
What?
Because
I don't even know who you are right now.
I know. There's music that is a part of this film, and I just want us all to have a unified experience. So you'll understand when you watch it. Okay.
So is the version on Max the same version that you saw?
Yeah.
You can. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm asking you to do this. I know I don't normally do this. Normally I'm like, watch it in Japanese. But there's certain elements to this movie. I just want us all to have the same experience. So if you have Max, previously known as HBO Max, you can watch this along with us. It's available there. It's also available for rent all over the place. I'm really excited to talk.
Yeah, I got the Blu-ray from my library, so it's out there. This just came out last year, correct?
Yeah, it came out in January of last year. It came out in Japan at the end of the previous year. So it was like still pandemic time, and I have a little story about that because it was, a time when still a lot of people weren't going back to the theaters.
All right.
Cool.
And that is next week. So thanks for listening to this one. Hope you'll come back.
Thank you. I don't know. After that Iron Sky review, we probably lost what little audience we had.
Hey, as long as they didn't watch it and then just listen to our episode and we're entertained.
If anybody listened to that review and be like, "Oh, I got to see this now." You sadistic mother.
Yeah, you did that to yourself.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, everybody. If you like what you just heard, be sure to follow TMI Confessionals of the Nerd Kind on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, or whatever you listen to your favorite podcasts on. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and then share it with your fellow movie nerd friends. It means the world to us and helps our listenership grow.
You can also find us on all of the socials, Instagram and Twitter at TMI_podcast 2018. We're on Facebook and YouTube as well. Just look for the Popcorn Bucket.
You can help support this show by visiting our TeePublic page for some TMI branded goodies such as hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, and stickers. TeePublic.com/TMI Confessionals, all one word.
A 5-star review would be incredibly nice as well. I'm just saying.
Thanks again for listening. We truly appreciate you. Be sure to come back next week. We'll save some popcorn for you.
I didn't make the movie. I simply suggested it. I think we have a problem.